Welcome to Digital to Foot Traffic. I am Kevin Shi.
And I am Scott Jensen. We are digital marketers with massive experience in running brick and mortar stores.
Join us each episode as we explore the latest digital marketing trends and uncover strategies from the best in the industry. Hi, welcome to another episode of Digital to Foot Traffic. I'm your host, Kevin Shi.
And I am Scott Jensen.
Yes, we have a special guest today. Scott, can you introduce your friend?
Yeah, I think we're fortunate to be joined today by Cameron Urry. Cameron is a multi-year, I think going on multi-decade, digital marketing expert. He has worked in a variety of different industries in digital marketing, but has spent a lot of time in exactly what we're talking about, which is taking people from the digital world and driving them to physical locations. He has a lot of expertise, a lot of pieces. Cameron and I have worked together on and off throughout the years. And really value his insight and opinion on these things. And I think we're in for a treat today on to use my mom's term or my grandma's term, in for a treat, to go over quite a few things that we have ready.
Yes. Okay. Nice to meet you, Cameron. How are you doing?
Great. Thanks for having me on.
Yep.
Kevin and Scott, it's a pleasure.
Can you introduce a bit about yourself to our audience, please?
Sure thing. Well, yeah, thanks for having me on again. It's very, I think we could have some good conversations around using old-timey words like whippersnapper. But so, yeah, I've been doing digital marketing for, 15 plus years. There's probably longer than that. It starts aging me when I start thinking about that. So, focusing on all kinds of different ways of bringing inbound traffic. So SEO, done a lot of with local SEO and paid search, all the different types of paid media and display, and kind of done a little bit of everything. Focusing on, I've done a lot of paid SEO specifically. Okay, so and more recently with content marketing.
Great. I guess you've been around, and I guess I met you through Scott, and you used to work for Extra Space, which is the biggest self-storage company, one of the second biggest in USA, and it's related to our show because you know a lot of information about SEO and how that relates to physical locations, brick and mortars, and drive traffic here. Okay, so can you tell us something about early days of SEOs? I guess it's pretty simple. Back in the old days, what were some of the tricks and tools, and how it has evolved over the years, like with each algorithm change?
Yeah, sure. When we looked at SEO even 5 years ago, when we started looking at even 7 years ago, there's SEO has changed significantly. When we're looking at before it was link farms or like different types of link baits or link scheming. That's probably a good way of talking about it. And
keyword stuffing.
Keyword stuffing and reciprocal links and a lot of those things that I think we were able to find, kind of like reverse engineer how Google is kind of doing things and manipulating things to our advantage. Where I think that's where a lot of when we look at SEO today, I think that I would say that's where things have changed a lot. I think that we're looking more as far as like a customer perspective, trying to understand what our customer intent is, and then getting the minds of those customers, and then understanding what's their problems, what are their pain points, what are they trying to achieve in their queries, and creating relevant content that's going to show up for what their questions are or solve whatever their pain points are.
Okay. I remember before, even just 1 or 2 years ago, if you were to publish a lot of contents and that would have a good quality score, that would give you a good link rankings for your page. But I recall even up to now, if your contents are just gibberish or things that people do not care about, then actually that's actually bad. You rather spit out like not so much content, but really, really good content once in a while. Is that more of a trend now in SEO?
Absolutely. I think you're 100% spot on there. Like you're saying, using articles and a lot of like the spammy article writing that used to happen a lot with SEO. I think that Google did some of those updates that really kind of penalized people that did those types of things and incentivized us to change our ways. I think it's done it's been very successful in doing that, right? You don't see like the article sites, the content that we're writing today is relevant and it's not just nonsense.
Okay. So for like a physical store like self-storage or for like a gym or something, what would you advise your clients to write for content that's quite useful for customers?
Yeah, I think, if we're looking at storage or any type of local business where there's a lot of value, because those businesses are going to be geographically located in a certain area, and those businesses have, a radius around those properties, like where their location is, that's going to be largely their customer base.
Yes.
And I think that's a good opportunity to when you're looking at what do I write about, is understanding like what is that customer. A lot of times the operators or the people that own those businesses live in those areas and have a really deep insight of what, who those customers are.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's a good place to start with. Like, if you're thinking about where to start a strategy is,
mm-hmm.
I think that's understanding who your customer is the first thing.
Okay.
And then why would they be looking for you?
Okay. Scott, you want to continue with this thought?
Yeah, so Cam, really appreciate this, and I think I want to dig into a little bit more details of how things have changed from earlier years till now, and I think you started to hit on it. Can you talk a little bit about how you're directing your clients and people to create SEO content around that? So what's involved in that process? How does that look from a content creation standpoint? And as you and Kevin talked about for a minute there, that it's not so much about the quantity, but rather the quality. How are you ensuring that you're creating great quality content?
When you start thinking about like creating quality content, there's a lot of aspects of the customer that you're going to start wanting to dig into. You start asking yourself, okay, now that we want to start creating a content strategy, who are my customers? Do your research, do surveys, talk to your customers, go work in the store. That gives you a good level of understanding, because what you're trying to understand is what is your customer's intent. Intent's a big piece of it, and when you're writing, content, having that context of who that customer is will give you a roadmap of what content you should be creating. And so when you're looking at that, breaking it down to 3 different areas, is you want to start attracting customers. You want to be engaging your customers. You want to convert those once you get their attention. And so thinking of breaking your content down into what are they going to be, what's going to attract them, what are the questions they have, what are the problems, what are the pain points, and then create content that solves those. And then when you're engaging, this is where we start looking at different type of like buyer personas or customer personas. Is someone going to be reading that content quickly, or are they fast paced or slow paced? Are they going to be emotional or logical? And when you create your content, understanding like how customers will go through and make that process and buy and make those decisions, it really helps you structure, okay, now I have a need that I want to write content for. Now, how do I break down that content? Okay, I need to do a video. I'm going to do a checklist. I'm going to do, a chat box or, some type of call to action to get them to call, or people who want to have a customer action, so that it makes it kind of hits like your customer's buying persona. And then
that's great.
So I think that's a good place.
Well, I'm curious. You've talked about buying personas a couple times now, and I'm curious. Can you give us kind of an overview of what you mean by buying personas?
Sure. With a buying persona, what I'm thinking of, and if you can envision, everyone's going to be making, they're cognitively making a decision based off of what you're delivering to them in your content. Some people, like I said, may be very fast-paced. Some may be slow. Some are emotional and some are logical. And so when you take those 4 characteristics and put them into a quadrant, now you have a good place to start of understanding, okay, do I need like a fast-paced logical or a slow pace that's emotional? And then, for example, like then you can apply that to whatever product that you're trying to sell. I think that what the content actually becomes is very specific to whatever business or product that you're trying to sell. Can
you give us a more specific example? Say if I was a pet groomer and I was trying to drive people to my store, and I was somebody who made decisions slowly and emotionally. What type of things are you talking about?
So like slowly and emotionally, that's someone that would be very, slowly emotional. We want to call like a humanistic someone. It's a humanistic type persona that they want to have a human contact or a human interaction, or be assured of that they're making the right decisions. They'll probably go through and read your content and really trying to find a way to identify with you as a company, or you as a person, or that product. When you have that, like videos, like in-person videos are really helpful and that really, like the pet store, the pet groomer, right? It's like on that page you'd have different offers that you're giving them. It's like to make it easy to purchase. At the end, you can have a video. It's like, if you have any other, that's you personally saying, hey, if you have any more questions, come on down. This is me. This is my name. You can ask for me. That's a great way to like nail that quadrant, the slow, emotional.
All right, can you give us the opposite of that? What would you write for somebody who is a decision maker that makes decisions quickly and logically?
So quickly and logically, you can call that spontaneous, where you have this person is really looking to solve a problem quickly, or make a decision quickly in whatever they're trying to purchase. So in this case, if they're a pet groomer, we can use that example again. They're probably going to be on their phone. It's going to be very specific. I just need to get to this place and or like just schedule this appointment or drop my dog off as soon as possible. There is checking a box on their task list to get done rather quickly. So they're not looking for all the different, a huge amount of content to make their decision. The decision is kind of already made, but now they're looking for how can I fulfill on that with relatively ease. And I think that's where you have like, okay, let's make sure that page loads. It's really fast. You have a great call to action that makes it relatively easy. That really just solves that, allows them to check that off their list as soon as possible.
That's great. Kevin, what do you think?
I think that's great, and I guess I've heard this fast and slow, humanistic and logical. I think I'm going to post that diagram in our podcast so that our listener can have a visual understanding of it. Is that okay?
Yeah, that'd be great.
Yeah, okay. What I want to ask is, when people there's different people in different regions, right? And I guess it's a two-part question. The part of the question is, how do you know what kind of person they are prior when they come to your website? Do you use third-party data? I guess this is kind of out of the actual SEO question, but just say in this town or this street, there's 4 different types of people, right? So how do you know which person they are and which type of content you feed them in that manner would leads to conversion the fastest? That's my first part question. And the second part of the question is, I understand there are things that they click on just say, for example, the Extra Space website that gives you clues as to what kind of person they are. If they watch the video, if they just look at the comparison box. And so that would give you a good idea what kind of person they are. And subsequent pages that they go to will better reflect to their type of personality. For example, if I click the video on the index page, then the next page that comes up will have more videos because we know that you're that type of person. Is that something that's dynamically doing right now? I guess that's and how's that working in effect for conversions?
Sure, I think I would call that personalization.
Okay.
So
you do that, or is that's not SEO?
I would say that's really big with when you're looking at conversion optimization. And
okay.
Once you're bringing them into your website, like that's what your SEO would do, is bring them in. So
my question is, just say for Scott, if you're the director of the marketing in charge of everybody, which department would that be? Would that be the experience department or the website development department? That probably is not Cameron's department, right?
Depends on the company, and every company will set this up just a little bit differently, but it's a great question. It does actually play into SEO to some degree in that you're still building content and you want your SEO team to have buy-off on that content. So I've been in several different companies, and we've kind of housed that responsibility of that customer experience in different places.
Okay.
But a customer experience manager or somebody who's responsible for the customer journey is who oversees kind of those paths. And what they're doing is they're trying to identify, hey, what are the different types of customers that are coming in?
Okay.
What questions do they need when answered when they come in? And then how do we best answer those questions for them? And that's a combination of a multi-touch experience in most cases, although not all. If you go back to our pet store example, somebody may be looking for a special kind of dog food. They do a search for dog food and for their dog that's, let's say, a vegan dog for some reason or another, which sounds horrific to me. Why does somebody do that to a dog? But maybe I don't know something I don't. So anyway, they're looking for a vegan dog food, and your pet store happens to specialize in providing this special kind of dog food. Well, that may be that they come in and just do and can see that dog food, know that they have it, and they're willing to come down to your store and do it. But it may be that they have a dog that they're trying to, say, have groomed a particular way because of a skin allergy or something like that. And so it may be that they're researching. You have articles on your website about your particular type of dog grooming, and that you cater to these 3 or 4 different types, and that somebody who maybe lives a little bit further away they're trying to decide, hey, is this the best place for me to take my dog to groom? And so they may come back 2 or 3 different times through multiple channels. The first time maybe through paid search, the second time through SEO, as we're talking about here, and a 4th time maybe through a social or remarketing campaign of some sort. In every case, that experience needs to be the same for that customer. They can't feel like they're disjointed. And the SEO team has to have a say in that, and in some cases maybe a major play in being able to help shape that and determine it so it's best from an SEO consumption standpoint, from a content building standpoint, but also from a technical SEO, that it's on your website in a way that the search engines can crawl it, and that it's a page that people could land on or be a part of, and that it would make sense for them. So I think there's a bunch of places that lays in, but I think this is really getting back to what Cameron was speaking about initially, which is the change in SEO from what it was, say, 7, 8, 10 years ago to what it is now, which is getting away from all of these kind of spammy, scammy techniques and really thinking about what's the customer journey. How do I best understand my customers, create an experience or a journey specifically for them, and curate that. And if I do that, Google and the other search engines are smart enough to recognize that when somebody falls within that customer profile that I've been targeting, that Google's going to point them in my direction. And that's really the difference than what we had before. Okay. Does that help answer your question?
Yeah. I got another question for Cameron. It's location based. Just for example, like if your groom store or my self-storage, we're in like more industrial space because we convert industrial buildings, but most of my customers are living in like prime areas where there is no self-storage. So most likely they're not going to type they're not going to type mini storage plus the area that we're having our self-storage. So, but they're going to type we're near their homes, which there is no self-storage. So what I used to do previously is I would still have pages like that, just like, for example, self-storage Mong Kok is an area in Hong Kong. There are no self-storage there, but there's a lot of traffic that goes there. And once we're there, we tell the customers, look, you know what, my storage is only like 4 blocks away. And if you go now, we'll give you 10% discount, something like that. Is that kind of cheating like Google? Or if not, I would miss out these traffic. What's your take on this?
Yeah, it's a good question. We started talking about location traffic because I've had similar experience with other clients I've worked with where they have significant amount of their business comes from cities that are or like places outside of where the city is actually like the facility is actually located. And what I've always looked and what I've done in the past is I've looked at, okay, where are the customers actually living that are going, or like I'm working that, come to this location, or in your case in storage, that rent at this location, and look at the data behind this. In this specific situation was like billing zip codes. Where are they living? And looking at where the customers coming from. And so that helped say, like, identify where are my customers coming from, which we had a lot of learnings to say, oh, well, this area we're actually driving a lot of business from, and we weren't really targeting it with our SEO or our paid search marketing. So that was a learning that we took away from that. But
if it's not that area that you have your storage, Google will not consider you as spamming or cheating as long as you're driving relevant traffic to your storage location, because it's a process, right?
I think so. I mean, that's how I've done it, because there's a scale, right? I'm going to target all of Hong Kong and all of China just to try to get as much traffic as possible, versus I'm just going to target exactly where I'm located. And I think that where I've drawn the line to scale is like, if I have a customer base in this area, then I think I have all the right to go and advertise those areas. And, the gut check I always have is, if I had, a search algorithm expert or, programmer at Google in front of me, could I justify it? I think that is where I've kind of like how I've made that decision.
Okay. Next question I have for you is, how do you drive hyper-localized traffic to your storage? For example, like a city like New York or Hong Kong. I don't want everybody to come to my storage because most of them are far away. I want people who are near my storage to come to my storage. How do you derive more location traffic? I know you can drive it via you optimize the keyword and the location, or maybe a keyword extension or something like that. But is there a technique? Just say, I want people like within this small radius.
Mm-hmm. There's some different techniques that you can have with your organic SEO that will significantly help. You can have pages dedicated to those areas.
Okay.
That really kind of point out, like, you service those areas.
Okay.
You can use like postal codes or zip codes that really can help do that as well. When you're looking at your link building, or how you're driving relevant links to your site, getting other links from local businesses.
Google can detect that as well. So if you only have links that's closely nearby, they can know the proximity as well, right?
Right.
Oh, that's smart.
So I think that's a really interesting way. And then we start looking at like local SEO, where this is looking at like the map, and like there's like the different map packs there. Yeah. And that's a different type of SEO, but that's really when you start getting into making sure that like your Google listing is claimed, that you've all the relevant like directories wherever you're located. In the US, it's like Yelp or like Google Search Console is big there as well. So you're making sure that your business information, your name, your address, phone number, is listed clearly and concisely across like all the different places where it shows up. Okay. That really makes a big difference as far as like driving hyper local, because a lot of that comes from mobile phone use, which that's changed SEO significantly. So especially if you have a local business, there's a good opportunity, you have good odds that they are driving and looking for your place. So Google is looking at where they're located and where your store is located, and trying to serve the best relevant result first.
Can you give me an example of a client that you helped recently, or like the past few years, that you did some simple like low hanging fruit stuff for them, and then wow, there's like the effect was really, really good. You were surprised. Can you give me one or two examples?
Let me think here. There's, we
all of
there's
them,
so many.
No, it's very obvious. Like you did one or two minor stuff for them, and then the result was really, really like amazing.
Sure, there's an e-commerce site, and I think they had a lot of good links. They were doing a lot of good PR work, and doing different outreaches, but the pages weren't optimized. So when you're looking at simple wins, is optimizing the basic on-site. Your title tags, your H1s, your titles, your descriptions, and I think that sometimes that gets lost.
Okay. So after you did the very basic, they shot up to like rank first already.
Yeah, they did very well. And the other one is, this is like a lot of more like on-page SEO, and the other one was we're just looking at basic site architecture. Like, sometimes the foundation of what your site's built on can actually harm you, and if it's not set up right, because then you start getting to like duplicate content issues, and sometimes it gets different redundant pages, and you have canonical issues. Mm-hmm. So I'm really making sure that you have good content, or you have a good architecture that makes it so your page can be indexed and all your content can be seen.
I remember last time you're talking about how each location, just have like space, like extra space. If there was 1,000 locations, you were testing out some places. Every community is different, and the header, the subheader has to be changed to maximize the conversion from the SEO. Can you elaborate on that? like the headers and some content. So not every page has to be designed the same for maximum exposure for different communities.
Yeah, I think what we were looking at was, I think that test was, we were looking at using SEO, like how do we optimize, like get more out of our SEO, and we're looking at doing testing, where we were testing titles and descriptions. Because in that aspect, there's some good data that indicates that click-through rate does help you rank well, like better, right? So we're looking at if we have making sure that we're, like in this case, we tested titles and descriptions to help increase our click-through rate without doing much of anything else on the page. Like everything else was pretty strong on page. But looking at, this is where we're taking the customer approach, like what is the customer trying to solve with this, and then how is this page going to do that, and writing more relevant, instead of a title tag that's, in storage right now, you see almost the same title tag on every site, right? It's going to be like, self-storage units and city name.
So the end result is every community is different. Not every community has the same title page for maximized click-through rate.
Right.
Okay.
Yeah, I think what we're going through there is we did an analysis looking at, for this case, there was 2,000 locations, and saying that the location in San Francisco is more like the location in New York, even though we had in San Francisco, we actually had one, two facilities, but in two very different parts of the town, 10 miles apart.
And you start clustering different type of storage into different clusters. And you SEO, SEO according to that cluster's characteristics.
Yeah, because what we would look at then is like, what's the makeup, like the characteristic makeup of that facility based on the people that lived near location. And then we were doing tests based on that.
Wow, that's cool. Scott, you want to add something on this?
Yeah, I would appreciate that, Cameron. Appreciate the insight. I would say I want to kind of shift the conversation a little bit, just because, Cameron, I know you are kind of literally one of the world's foremost experts in this particular area when it comes to AMP and PWA. Would you mind telling us what AMP is and why people are using it and why it's kind of moving along so quickly?
Oh, yeah. So when we look at, just overall, like, changes in digital traffic in the last 5 years, significant shift to mobile, right? That's really, and the impact of that of that change to SEO has been, we have to now look at how does the content impact mobile, but we also look at our platforms, because Google's clearly stated that speed is a factor in your ranking. Having a really fast site is important. The issue is I think some of the platforms that our websites were built on weren't necessarily built, and we have architecturally issues with speed sometimes, just how they're built. So Google has come out with some other technologies to help speed things up. The first one they came out with was AMP, which is accelerated mobile pages. What that basically does is Google is going through and taking a cache version of your website. So it's looking at all the different pages on your website that have been coded to accept AMP. Basically, with that coding, you're saying, I want you to store this information for me, and it stores it on a different server in the Google world, so that if someone's searching for your keywords, Google can show your AMP page in the search results. What that does, and the reason why you'd want that is when someone clicks on that from Google search results, it loads almost immediately. Like it's lightning fast. You should see sub 1 second page loads with AMP, which is remarkable. And when you look at customer experience, if you're browsing a mobile site, sometimes it's very painful. You dread to click the wrong button or have to hit the back button and have it load. And AMP really helps those pages that have a lot of content on them, or maybe not a lot of content, but when we're talking about content like images or words or text, it really helps load those pages really fast. Where AMP has been a little bit more challenging when you have a lot of dynamic content.
That's the problem with us, because if the prices keep on changing, you can't load AMP. So we can only load AMPs for static pages right now.
Yeah, I've come up with some pretty creative solutions on how you can kind of work around that. Like, and I know Google has come out with Google e-commerce that kind of helps with this as well, to help solve some of the issues with those, specific around like dynamic content, like prices and other things, especially where you're having things change every single time, like it loads. Like if you have like an inventory system where it's checking inventory, I think you can get kind of creative. For example, like Kevin, if you had a facility page that shows all your the different storage units available and the different prices, and people are renting those all the time, and that storage unit could be not available right now. In one instance, what I did is I created another landing page, like another page that was like our AMP SEO page. That was when the page loaded, didn't automatically show like the prices, but it would show like our most popular default storage units that we usually always had available. And then when they would make an action or make a request to see live inventory, then we would load.
Oh, okay.
Into like the actual, like the non-AMP page.
Okay.
But we would still get the benefits of the speed.
Okay. Can you give me some examples of chain stores or like retail stores or that you've worked with or that you've checked out that has a pretty good SEO program? And you think of mine in particular?
Retail stores that have a pretty good SEO program.
Yeah.
I've known Home Depot, like they have a good SEO program.
Okay.
They have a lot of different stores and they've done a good job, especially with like their local. They do a fine job.
Starbucks, I guess.
Yeah, Starbucks, very well. They're very cool, and it looks at the new technologies that they're integrating with their website, and especially with mobile.
I remembered Salesforce used to make a new dynamic page for every question that hits over like 100. That more than 100 person asks the same question, they would answer it on a separate landing page. It becomes like a landing page for them, because that would be like a long tail question that leads back to their website. So I think that's a pretty good technique as well.
Yeah. Okay. I think that's a good idea.
Okay.
And just going back to Scott's question, I think there's the second part you mentioned, Scott, was PWA. PWA is a progressive web app, and where AMP really excels is that first time someone comes to your website, it really excels at making that first experience, really fast. What PWA does is it makes every other page load, like every consecutive page load from that point forward, just as fast. And it has a lot of other cool features as well.
I remember Scott mentioned about how using AMP, it becomes load as fast as an app or something like that. And then you can start pushing notifications to the user on their phone. But I don't know how that would work. Can somebody elaborate on that for me? Yeah.
So, basically how it works is it's another JavaScript caching technology that you build into your site. Google's, what they're doing is like when PWA, it has what they call they call it service worker. But what Service Worker does is it goes like when your page loads, it actually creates like a small, basically like an app version of your site on someone's phone. And inside there, you can have it store your basic HTML and other types of things. So it's, a lot of the stuff that's redundant in loading actually loads locally on your phone and doesn't load through like a browser or like through your internet connection. So it makes a lot of that happen really fast because you don't have the latency with the internet connection. And so, what the benefits are is it actually becomes like a native app on your phone.
Mm-hmm.
When you look at your phone, you can actually see it as an app on the phone. It has a home screen button like an app. You can do push notifications exactly.
What would be a practical sales or technique for a brick and mortar store for push notification? come to the storage. What would be some useful thing for push notification, or you owe me you owe rent, or I don't know. I'm just thinking of how would that drive sales or increase conversions.
So you can do push notification where if they have been there and they come near your store, you can say like stop by.
Oh, okay.
If they have made like a rented or reserved storage unit on your site, if you have like, some sites will have the date when they're planning to move in.
Okay.
You can send them a reminder.
Okay.
Those are just a couple examples.
Scott, do you have one or two examples to elaborate on that one?
Yeah, I think that I think we're just touching the surface. And we've talked about this a little bit in the past, that I think there's been an ongoing debate about which was going to win out, the internet or apps. And I think that what we're seeing now is the answer to that question, which is the internet is going to win by becoming more like apps in some ways. And apps are really just a faster way to get to the internet and a more curated customer experience. And so what this is doing, and kind of the cool thing about PWA is that it does let you kind of focus in on customers to the point where a PWA website can even let you download a kind of a screen icon that houses on your phone, so you can click and go right into a specific web experience within that. And so it looks and feels just like an app. But in this case, I think there's a bunch of examples. So if we go back to, I know this time I'm kind of focusing in on pet locations, but if somebody's visited your website and they've given you permission and you've given their permission, when your appointment was done for your groomer, or your groomer appointment was done for your dog, it could do a push notification to you for that, assuming that you've opted into that. If you have then said, hey, send me promotional materials, and that pet store is having a sale on that organic dog food or that vegan dog food, they could push those to you as well. And this is without having had to download a pet store app. It's just come through their PWA site, which I really think is where this is going anyway, is that we'll just visit these and then have access to them instead of having to go through that whole process. So there's a bunch of examples, and I think we're just starting to touch the surface. These are things that have been around for about a year and a half or so and are starting to come around.
Very exciting.
We will see more of this. Yeah, it's pretty exciting.
Great.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Scott, do you want to? Yep, go on.
I think one thing that you can actually, it's really exciting, and I think for me is really interesting, is you can create an offline version of your website. So, I think there's a lot of relevant, for like a location like a hotel, they might be on an airplane or in a place where there's no service, looking for, where is my room at? What's the address? So that when they land, they have all that information ready. So you can create offline experiences on top of that, which is really interesting. I think that takes websites, beyond what they are today into more full customer experiences.
Yeah. Wow. That's great. Okay, Scott, you got any other questions?
Yeah, Cameron, I have one last question for you, which is kind of the catch-all here, which is if you bought a brand new business, kind of a local business, and let's just call it a pet store for today's conversation, from a digital marketing standpoint, knowing that hey, you've been doing this for some time, what are the 3 or 4 things that you would be doing right away to help your business the most with that with that digital experience?
Sure. First off, if you're just bought a new place or you're building a new place and opening up, one, claim everything. Get out there and claim your business, and start that, because if that can become a nightmare. Really manage your online profiles from the beginning will save you a lot of headache. I think that there's a lot of additional, especially if you're opening up a new one, you're looking at how do you start. You have a lot of costs already incurred, and you need to start, selling pretty quickly. So look at other types of services. Like you have your SEO, that's going to take, that's not going to be ready tomorrow, or, you're probably looking at least 6 months in the future before your SEO really starts kicking in, depending on competition wise. But really look at other channels that you have that for additional levers. You have paid search, you have, Facebook advertising, which is great for local. And you can really get down at a granular level for your interests and audiences. Mm-hmm. So there's looking at from as far as like social, do events, they have some really interesting things on local deals.
I have a joke on this. This is kind of funny. It's not 100% SEO, but it's kind of related to Facebook. I have a friend, analysis of his business. There's absolutely no advantage of his business. His store is far away. His stuff is expensive. They're not open for weekends. So you know what they did, So what they did is they did a video, all right, of this guy. Oh, I've been here for 30 years. Business used to good. My kids are through school, and then the digital economy comes. Everybody start ordering online. I can't even pay their rent. I'm suffering. And he's just basically begging for sympathy, right? And it was shared like 1,000 times, and everybody's like supporting him. You've been around. We should support these local businesses. And it became it ranked one, at least on the first page for stationaries, right? So this is kind of funny because he didn't have any competitive advantages. He was just telling them that he's going out of business, and there's so much sharing on that content. It was funny.
That's awesome.
Maybe that's a pretty good strategy too. So actually, I kind of played into that for my recent relaunch of my advertising. Before I was just telling them all the new products for storage we have, but then I was thinking maybe I should ask Hong Kong people to give me a second chance with some tears on it, So let's see how it goes. Pure SEO play. If anybody asks me, it's from Cameron.
Yeah.
So
if it works good, then it works.
If not work, I'll remove it right away.
A lot of ways, if you get bad press, then the links are still valuable.
Yeah, exactly. One more question for you. Where do you see voice commands as overtaking SEOs, like Alexas and all that? How do you see that? Where's that going? And do you think Amazon has a chance of overshooting with from Google because of Alexa?
Yeah, I think that's a great, because my third option I was going to say was make sure that whatever your website that you create is a mobile first version, because especially as local is most of those customers are going to be finding you through maps on their phones, Siri, Google Assistant, depending on which device they have. And when we look at how a lot of those things have been built, SEO has been a big piece of all the SEO people out there, and what we've built has made a lot of this possible for the Siri and Google Assistant and understanding what our content is. One of the ways that we've done that is, with schema.org, we've built a lot of the knowledge. We've helped deliver our content in a better, more
organized
way, exactly, for Google or whoever's reading that series based off of. I think it's still Bing. Yeah, Bing and Amazon are working together. So, Bing and Google both support schema.org and micro format. So, I think the next question that you're going to have is well, what is schema? So, but a good example is you have a lot of information on your website, and when Google or the search engines are coming and looking at that, they're going to be looking at this big group of text, and then their hard job is then trying to make sense of what that text is and what does it mean. What schema does is it breaks down that text and tells those search engines exactly what that is. It says, this block of text is an address. This is my address. This is my business name. It says, these are my products, and here's the title, or here's my product name. And, even I think, and local businesses, local business has its own version of schema, just like even self-storage does. So it makes it, what we're doing is we're building the classifications and taking just raw data, and we're building entities and and telling this is exactly what this text is, which makes it easier for Siri and these assistants to understand and deliver those results.
Wow.
And I think that if you want to see how it, see it in action, is if you're searching on Google, you're seeing answers to questions directly in search results, or if you ask this question, here's other questions that other people have asked. A lot of that is generated from schema, and it's
So we should make sure our website is done via schema, or we should check with schema first, right? Is that a good thing to do right now?
Yeah. Yes. I think if you haven't looked at and implemented schema, you should be doing that, because then that's how you get into the chance of like being.
Number one.
I think that would be interesting to see how.
Yeah.
How do we become Google's, Google Assistant's result for where's storage near me, right?
Okay.
Or like where's a pet store?
Okay.
I need vegan dog food.
Yeah.
And it gives your location as a place to go get it.
Okay, great. Shall we wrap it up today?
Yeah, I think so. Just a quick thank you to Cameron for taking the time and to come on and talk to us a little bit about this stuff.
We hope to have you again.
A lot of great insights. Yeah. Cameron, you want to tell us who you're with in case somebody wants to look you up and get some more information?
Absolutely. Thanks. With the company, I have a company called Adigma. The website's adigma.io, adigma.io. And we do all the stuff that we talked about and help people figure out those strategies and execute on them.
So I guess we had Thane on the other day, so I guess you work with Thane as well. And I guess if a customer would come to you, you would consider the whole package, like how PPC Pay Search would work with SEO?
Yes, absolutely.
Great. Well, very good to have you on, Cameron, today, and we hope to hear from you again. Thanks a lot, Scott. You. So until next time, Thank you.
Appreciate you guys. Thanks.
All right, thank you.
Thank you for listening to Digital to Foot Traffic. Join our mailing list at digitaltofoottraffic.com for more of our digital insights and strategies.
Leave us a review on iTunes or your favorite Android apps and subscribe so we'll show you the second we launch a new episode.